What the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. This phrase might sound absurd to many, right? How can someone believe that a simple person with little can transform their life solely through thoughts and beliefs? Does this conflict with faith, religion, or what the Bible teaches? Today, we'll explore the connection between biblical teachings, Napoleon Hill's principles of wealth and persistence, and how this can guide your life. Purpose and faith are like the flame that keeps life burning when everything around seems dark. Both the Bible and Napoleon Hill teach that before any external achievement, you must create a clear vision within yourself. Proverbs states that, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." And Hill reinforces this by saying that everything starts with a defined purpose and the unwavering belief that it can be achieved. But most people don't live with this kind of clarity. How many wake up each day without knowing exactly where they're going? How many carry the weight of believing they were born only to pay bills and survive? Isn't this why so many give up before they even try? Fear is the first enemy of vision. It whispers that you're not capable, that you haven't studied enough, that you were born in the wrong place, in the wrong family, and that dreaming big is a waste of time. And it's by believing these voices that so many never take the first step. Imagine someone who always dreamed of owning their own business, but convinces themselves that this isn't for people like me. This mentality sabotages the future before it even begins. But when you decide to write down a clear purpose, such as, "I want to achieve financial freedom in 5 years," and begin aligning your daily choices with that vision, something shifts within you. This purpose becomes a beacon guiding each step, even during storms. A powerful example of this occurred in Napoleon Hill's life. Born in 1883 amidst poverty in the Virginia mountains, he lost his mother at age 10 and became a rebellious boy, full of anger and without direction. His future seemed doomed. But then his stepmother stepped in, and instead of criticizing him, she said something that transformed his life. "Son, this isn't a serious flaw. Perhaps you are the smartest person in the world. You just haven't discovered how to use it yet." These words planted a new vision in Hill's mind. They reignited the flame of faith, and it was precisely this renewed vision that later led him to interview the greatest millionaires of his time and dedicate decades to understanding the secrets of success. This moment sparks a feeling of hope because it shows that sometimes a simple shift in perspective is enough to create a completely different future. Now consider, how many times have you stopped believing in a dream because someone said it was impossible? How many times have you given up before even starting because it seemed too absurd for your reality? What if the difference between where you are and where you want to be were simply the decision to believe what the Bible already declares, that you are more than a conqueror, that there are plans of peace and prosperity for your life? Faith isn't a distant concept. It's a muscle that needs to be exercised daily, even when your eyes haven't yet seen the results. Applying this teaching can be simpler than you think. Imagine you work at a job you hate, feeling trapped in an uninspiring routine. Instead of resigning yourself to it, start by writing down your vision for the future. Detail what you'd like to achieve: a purposeful profession, financial stability, time for family. Then, align your daily actions with this vision, however small, studying for 20 minutes a day, saving a portion of your salary, developing a skill that can open doors. It's not about doing everything at once, but about taking consistent steps, guided by a clear vision. Science also confirms the importance of this. Research in psychology shows that people with well-defined and written goals are up to 10 times more likely to achieve their results. This happens because the brain works like a radar. When you define a purpose, it begins to filter information and opportunities that would have previously gone unnoticed. What once seemed invisible begins to appear before you. It's as if doors that were closed suddenly open, not because the world changed, but because you started to see differently. And here's a rhetorical question to ponder. Is the life you have today a result of the limitations you accepted and not of what you could actually achieve? Isn't it time to exchange fear for faith and doubt for purpose? After all, if even an orphaned and impoverished boy, lost in the Virginia mountains, could find a new direction from a clear vision, why couldn't you? This is precisely where faith and purpose intersect. The Bible reminds us that without faith it is impossible to please God. And Napoleon Hill reminds us that without a defined purpose, there is no true fulfillment. When you combine the two, you create a force capable of breaking down any barrier. And the most impressive thing is realizing that this power is already within you, waiting for you to decide to believe. Decision and perseverance are two elements that go hand in hand and often separate those who merely dream from those who truly conquer. Napoleon Hill said that most people fail because they don't make firm decisions or because they give up too soon. And if we think about it, how many times have we experienced this? Indecision paralyzes. The fear of choosing wrong blocks us. And procrastination becomes a silent poison. How many people do you know who say every year that they're going to change their lives, but never go beyond the promise? How many times have you caught yourself repeating the phrase, "Next year will be different," but deep down knew you weren't willing to act consistently? The Bible reinforces that perseverance is one of the greatest tests of faith. The Apostle Paul talks about running the race with patience, and Jesus said that whoever perseveres to the end will be saved. It's not just about starting, it's about enduring. It's about getting up even after falling, about moving forward even when your body screams that it can't take anymore. And this is precisely where so many people get lost. They confuse difficulty with failure, and instead of persisting, they give up. Napoleon Hill experienced this in his own journey. After receiving the mission from Andrew Carnegie to interview and study the most successful men of his time, he spent more than 20 years in this process. There were thousands of interviews, travels, sleepless nights, criticisms, and even ridicule. Many said he was wasting his life on an impossible task, but his perseverance built a legacy that has spanned generations. Think about what it means to invest 2 decades of your life in something that no one around you believed in. This story evokes a sense of admiration because it shows that persistence requires real sacrifice, but that the result is capable of impacting millions of people. Now imagine applying this principle to your daily life. Let's say you decide to organize your finances. In the first month, saving a small amount may seem useless, almost insignificant. But over time, with discipline and perseverance, this habit transforms into financial freedom. Another example, someone who starts an online course to change careers. The first lessons seem exciting, but then comes the fatigue, the lack of time, the temptation to quit. It is precisely at this moment that perseverance must prevail. It's not about speed, but about consistency. What differentiates those who reach their destination is not the initial intensity, but the decision not to stop halfway. Many people say, "What if I choose wrong? What if I persist and nothing changes?" This is the most common objection. But the truth is that not deciding is already a decision in itself, and it's usually the decision to remain where you are. The lack of choice keeps you in the same cycle, while a decision, even if it brings errors and stumbles, creates learning. And perseverance transforms mistakes into stepping stones. Research in behavioral psychology shows that people with high resilience and the ability to persevere in the face of difficulties are statistically more likely to achieve long-term goals. In other words, persistence is not just a moral virtue, it's a proven factor of success. But there's something powerful in combining decision and perseverance. When you decide firmly and make persistence a way of life, you create an energy that moves mountains. The Bible says that faith without works is dead. Hill, in turn, said that ardent desire needs to be accompanied by constant action. This union becomes a key. You choose, you persist, you adjust when necessary, but you never abandon the path. And suddenly, what seemed impossible begins to become reality before your eyes. One of the most transformative principles taught by Napoleon Hill was the concept of the mastermind, which means uniting with people with similar goals, sharing ideas, strengths, and experiences to achieve results far greater than would be possible alone. The Bible already affirmed this truth simply. Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. When we isolate ourselves, we limit our vision and our strength. But when we connect with people who also want to grow, we expand our ability to conquer. How many times have you felt stagnant because you tried to carry all the weight alone? How many times have you been afraid to share a dream for fear of criticism or envy, and ended up stifling a project that could have worked? This fear is common. Many think, if I share my ideas, they'll laugh at me, or if I help someone, I'll be exploited. This type of thinking causes a person to live locked within themselves, believing that keeping everything to themselves is the best defense. But the result is the opposite: loneliness, lack of motivation, and often failure. Napoleon Hill learned early on that no one achieves anything great alone. When Andrew Carnegie challenged him to study the secrets of success, Hill needed to approach great names, learn from them, ask questions, expose himself, and listen to criticism. His legacy was only possible because he understood the importance of the right relationships and the generosity of sharing knowledge. This sparks a feeling of gratitude because it shows that true strength lies not only in accumulating, but in building together. In practice, applying this principle can radically change your life. Imagine someone who wants to improve their financial life. If they try to learn alone, it can take years of stumbling, making repetitive mistakes. But if they decide to join a study group, find a mentor, or even exchange experiences with people who have already achieved results, they accelerate their learning and avoid unnecessary mistakes. It's like rowing in the high seas. Alone, the boat barely moves. But with several people rowing in the same direction, the pace and strength increase impressively. Generosity is also part of this process. It's not just about receiving, but about contributing. When you decide to share knowledge, help someone, or even donate part of what you have, you activate a powerful biblical principle. There is more happiness in giving than in receiving. This movement generates genuine connections, opens unexpected doors, and creates a cycle of prosperity. There are clear examples of how this works in real life. Steve Jobs, for example, would not have created Apple if he had not allied himself with Steve Wozniak, who brought the technical genius to bring Jobs' visionary ideas to life. This powerful combination of minds created one of the largest companies on the planet. Or consider Bill Gates and Paul Allen, who co-founded Microsoft. What began as an idea dreamt up by teenagers with a passion for computers blossomed into a global empire, all thanks to the power of collaboration. These examples show us that the mastermind principle isn't some distant theory. It's a recurring pattern among significant achievements. Conversely, how many talented, intelligent individuals brimming with potential have faded into obscurity because they isolated themselves, striving for self-sufficiency? History is filled with brilliant inventors who crafted incredible products, but vanished because they failed to build relationships, to seek help, to cultivate partnerships. This lack of collaboration proved costly, preventing their ideas from changing the world. Science corroborates this reality. Studies on social support networks reveal that people with strong relationships enjoy better emotional health, greater resilience during crises, and a higher likelihood of achieving financial and professional goals. A Harvard Business Review survey showed that leaders who cultivate strategic connections increase their chances of success by as much as 70% compared to those who isolate themselves. This means that surrounding yourself with the right people isn't just inspiring, it's statistically effective. And this begs the question, how many of your own dreams have died simply because you tried to achieve them alone? How many times have you refused help or avoided partnering with someone out of fear of losing control? Isn't it time to recognize that reaching your next level hinges on the connections you choose to cultivate? The principle is clear. When you open yourself to strengthening relationships, practice generosity, and share your journey, you not only grow faster, but also build something that impacts far beyond yourself. Gratitude and emotional control are often overlooked pillars when discussing wealth, yet they determine whether success will be lasting or fleeting. Napoleon Hill emphasized that positive mental attitudes aren't merely a complement, but the very foundation that supports all actions. The Bible reinforces this, teaching us to cultivate contentment, peace, and gratitude in all circumstances. In daily life, it's easy to see how the absence of these elements sabotages us. Anxiety, envy, frustration, and constant comparisons erode the mind and distract us from what truly matters. How many times have you felt defeated not for lack of skill or opportunity, but because you couldn't control your emotions in the face of a financial or personal challenge? How many times has frustration caused you to abandon something that could have transformed your life? Modern research confirms the relevance of this principle. Studies in positive psychology demonstrate that individuals who practice gratitude regularly experience significantly higher levels of happiness, a lower propensity for depression, and greater resilience in the face of adversity. Furthermore, research in behavioral finance indicates that emotional control reduces impulsive spending and investment decisions, fostering stable financial growth over time. In other words, gratitude and emotional balance aren't just moral or religious virtues. They are scientifically proven factors in sustainable success. Practically, this applies to various life areas. For instance, upon receiving a raise or unexpected money, instead of immediately spending it on fleeting desires, an emotionally controlled person reflects, plans, and strategically allocates those resources. In situations of conflict at work or in personal life, instead of reacting with anger or frustration, they take a breath, assess, and choose the most constructive response. Over time, these small decisions build a pattern of behavior that generates inner peace, confidence, and a clear vision of growth, positively influencing all other areas of life. Napoleon Hill witnessed firsthand how mastering emotions could make the difference between success and failure. Although he had access to immense knowledge about wealth, his periods of financial and personal instability demonstrated that without emotional control and gratitude, even the best knowledge can be lost. This story evokes a mixture of sadness and warning, but also inspires reflection. If someone so learned and experienced faced difficulties by ignoring this practice, how much more crucial is it for us to cultivate it daily? So, the question remains, how many opportunities have you missed by reacting impulsively or focusing solely on what's lacking instead of appreciating what you already possess? How many financial, professional, or personal decisions have been hampered because anxiety, envy, or anger took over? What if you started today to practice gratitude and develop emotional control, dedicating a few minutes each day to this discipline? How much could your life change in the coming months or years? By integrating gratitude and emotional balance with faith, purpose, perseverance, and strategic relationships, you build a solid foundation not only for material wealth, but for a fulfilling, meaningful, and truly prosperous life. Self-discipline begins with small daily choices that seem insignificant, but accumulate enormous impact over time. For example, deciding to wake up 15 minutes earlier each day to plan your day, or setting aside a fixed amount to save before spending a single cent. These repeated small actions strengthen character, boost confidence, and create a positive cycle of progress. Napoleon Hill himself had to exercise self-discipline for decades while conducting his interviews and research. Managing his time, overcoming criticism, and maintaining focus on a distant goal required almost military-like consistency. This aspect of his life inspires respect and shows that discipline isn't suffering. It's the bridge between vision and realization. Neuroscience studies show that well-structured habits create neural connections that make behavior automatic over time. In other words, self-discipline doesn't rely solely on momentary willpower. It depends on building solid internal patterns. The more consistent you are, the more these correct choices become part of who you are, creating an identity aligned with your goals. Practically, we can observe clear examples of application. Someone seeking financial independence might establish the habit of reviewing their finances monthly, saving a fixed percentage, studying investments, and seeking constant learning. Over months and years, this habit transforms financial reality far more effectively than isolated or sporadic actions. Conversely, individuals with great potential who neglect discipline often see opportunities slip away, even when talent or knowledge is present. Napoleon Hill demonstrated in his own life that knowledge and intention are insufficient without discipline. Despite his vast knowledge of wealth and success, he faced financial and personal difficulties, often because his daily practice of discipline wasn't consistently maintained during certain periods. This reality prompts reflection and a warning. If someone so experienced could suffer consequences for lapses in discipline, how much more should we pay attention to this practice? So, the question is, how many of your goals haven't been achieved simply because of a lack of consistency? How many opportunities have escaped because daily effort wasn't maintained? What if you started today to create small, consistent routines and habits, applying self-discipline practically and consciously? How much could your life change in the next 6 months, a year, or 5 years? Self-discipline isn't just about deprivation or sacrifice. It's the key that transforms dreams into real results, connecting faith, purpose, perseverance, relationships, and emotional balance on a sustainable path to success. Every financial, personal, or spiritual transformation begins from the inside out. Faith, purpose, decision, perseverance, strategic connections, gratitude, and self-discipline are pillars that, when united, create a solid foundation for achieving real and lasting results. Each principle is a step that elevates you, however gradually, toward the life you desire and deserve. And to continue ascending this path of evolution, a new video is now available to take you even further, helping you climb another step in your wisdom and your journey to become 1% better than you are today. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.